Introduction, Representative Katab. I don't believe we've seen you in election law this year. Welcome.
Thank you, Chairman Berry. For the record, I'm Representative Caitlin Kutab, and I'm here to introduce CACR14. So currently we do have this in statute under RSA 655:1, which was enacted in 1979 under HB 575, and it had broad bipartisan support. It actually passed both the House and the Senate committees unanimously, and at that time there was actually a split Senate, 12-12 Republican Democrat, and we had a Democrat governor in office, so it was pretty bipartisan back then. However, while it hasn't been tried in New Hampshire, there is a federal case which does state that it's U.S. term limits v. Thornton from 1995, where the Supreme Court ruled that qualifications for federal office are in the U.S. Constitution and that state laws can't exceed those limits. The only other similar case in New Hampshire was somebody had argued that the state couldn't come up with the qualifications to vote. However, Part 1, Article 11 does say that at the end of it that having the proper qualifications, and because proper qualifications wasn't defined, they said that the state could define what proper qualifications meant. So where I come to with this is requiring in the Constitution that in order to run for state office that you have to be a U.S. citizen. So while we do have it in law, our Constitution doesn't really define this at all. Our Constitution just says that you had to be an inhabitant. It does not say that you had to be a U.S. citizen, and I would say that we've exceeded the authority of the Constitution by adding in an extra qualification that wasn't otherwise in the Constitution, and that there is nowhere in the Constitution in this particular piece that says anything about other proper qualifications. So I think it makes sense to put it into the Constitution where it belongs, and that's all it's doing is just adding under each of the state offices a citizen of the United States. That's it, and that will match up with the law that we've had since 1979 that, like I said, had broad bipartisan support, and I'm happy to take any questions on it.
Are there questions from the committee? Representative Bay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for taking my question. In the CACR, it does not include executive council. Is that an intentional exclusion or an oversight?
So I believe executive council, that the requirements for executive council were that you had to have the same qualifications. Hold on, I'm just pulling it up. I believe that it was that you had to have the same qualifications as Senate, and that's why it's not in here. I'm just looking to see real quick if I can find it in a second.
Part 2, Articles 60 to 66, if it helps you get there faster.
60?
60 through 66.
Thank you.
That's what the AI is telling me. I'm not going to pretend for a second like I've got the state. I read the state constitution once a year at least, but I'm not going to act like I've got it memorized.
Yeah, so thank you, Chairman Berry, that was very helpful. So for the counselors, are the inhabitants of each county qualified to vote for senators shall sometime in the month of, so it's because they have the same qualifications as the senators. That's why.
Representative Lane.
So we have a statute, and I'm assuming that's the one you're referring to.
Yeah.
That's 655:1.
Correct.
That you have to hold any elective office in the state, a person must be a citizen of the U.S., either by birth or by naturalization. So explain again why we need to add this to the Constitution.
So I believe that setting that into statute exceeded the authority of the Constitution, because the Constitution lays out the qualifications for rep, governor, and state senator, and it doesn't include that in there, and it doesn't say anything else about qualifications or whatnot. So it didn't really leave any opening for us to be able to add our own qualifications, and nobody has argued it before. But I think these types of things, if we know that they're there and that perhaps we exceeded the authority of the Constitution, it makes sense to correct it so that it doesn't at some point get argued.
Representative Lane.
Oh, thank you. I thought that, so another one is that in 655-29, we talk about qualifications of the candidates. And that says that they have to be registered voters. To be a registered voter, you have to be a citizen. So is that one also outside the authority?
I would believe it so, because it doesn't say it in the Constitution that you have to be a registered voter in order to run for the office. It's not in Articles 14, 29, or 42.
One more.
Follow up.
And just to be clear, there's not been anybody who's been a non-citizen who was elected to any of these positions so far.
Not that I'm aware of, no, but I know that although it hasn't gone before the court, there have been circumstances where somebody perhaps wasn't registered to vote and did in fact want to run for office but couldn't because they weren't registered to vote. And I think rather than if there were an argument like that came up, it could really delay the amount of time before we could seat somebody in that sort of a seat if there was a prolonged legal argument. So I think it just makes sense to fix it.
Further questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you. I don't believe I have any other pink cards for this. Is there any other member of the public who wishes to speak? Well, I can't. If you're holding on to it, I can't. Patrick Binder. But after that, I don't have any more pink cards. So, Representative Bay, if you could grab that blue sheet for me. Thank you.
All right, I did the blue sheet too because I wasn't going to speak, but now I'm speaking. So, Patrick Binder from Manchester, representing New Hampshire First, a citizen advocacy group. In favor of this bill. I think it's pretty good. You should have something there. It's so that the Constitution and the RSAs are in alignment. I would recommend two possible amendments. One would be to say a citizen of New Hampshire. So that's language we regularly use everywhere else. And then the offices of the U.S. President and the Vice President have a protection of natural-born citizen. So I would say you could have a natural-born citizen of the United States, and that would be a strong amendment for this. That's all.
Will you be taking questions?
Sure.
Representative Wilhelm.
Thanks for taking my question. Yep. Can you tell us a little bit more about your organization?
New Hampshire First is a citizen advocacy group, so we advocate for the citizens of New Hampshire.
Further questions from the committee? Representative Newsom.
Are you aware of any other states that limit state offices to natural-born citizens?
No, I just decided to come up and speak minutes ago, so it would be something to look into. Yeah, whether I don't see why there would be a problem if the offices of president can have that. Why can't the office of governor? It seems prudent if our founders thought it was prudent for the office of president of the United States that we could make it so that the offices of our state require the same type of protections.
Representative Lane. Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Pay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for asking my question. I'm just curious because maybe I just didn't hear it. Would you also advocate that to run for state offices for the candidate to be a natural-born citizen of New Hampshire? Should that come to fruition?
That's not a bad idea. It would eliminate me. I moved here. But I think in general, making the franchise stronger in that way is good for the voters. It's good for the people that are here. And I think I would support that.
Further questions on the committee? Seeing none, thank you. I don't have any other pink cards. On the blue sheet was one person signed up in support who did not speak. Online was 7 in